Good day, class. For today's speech, I will be doing an informative speech regarding violent crime in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So, for starters, one fact regarding violent crime in Albuquerque is that violent crime in the city is 3.5 times higher than the national average. And this is according to the non-preliminary federal crime statistics that were dated back as recently as 2018. So, with that said, violent crime offenders in Albuquerque, in my opinion, should be prosecuted to the highest extent of the law. And my reasoning behind this is because they, one, have a high level of reoffending. Probation, I believe, is ineffective. And most importantly, the families of those that have suffered deserve justice. So, the first thing that I will discuss is why I believe that violent crime offenders will most likely reoffend if they are released. And again, I'm not talking about any kind of crime. I'm not talking drug related crimes, or at least not ones that involve violence. Strictly violent crimes are the ones that I believe should be heavily prosecuted. Essentially, no leeway for that kind of stuff. So, as I was saying, the first thing I will discuss is why I believe violent crime offenders will reoffend. One reason is you have a 1 in 73 chance of being a victim of a violent crime in Albuquerque. Now, to put that number in context, that's per 1,000 residents, according to the neighborhoodscouts.com website, which monitors the danger level basically of different cities and neighborhoods across the country. Another reason is Albuquerque has a crime index of 1, which is the most dangerous designation given by that same website, neighborhoodscouts.com, with 100 being the safest. So essentially, to put it in context, Albuquerque is right at the top as one of the most dangerous cities, or one of the most susceptible to violent crimes. And anybody residing in that city has a greater chance of being a victim of a violent crime compared to some other cities across the country. Next, I will discuss why I believe probation is ineffective. So, one statistic regarding probation for violent crime offenders is 1 in 55 adults in the United States were on probation or parole in 2016, according to pewtrust.org. Within that number, a third of the 2.3 million people who exit probation or parole fail to complete the supervision, or they end up committing a new crime or not fulfilling what their obligation was regarding that probationary period. And basically, as it goes, the violent crime offenders that are put on probation, generally because they already have a record, so there's not a whole lot of options that they have anyway, but a third of those that are convicted of those crimes end up reoffending anyway, or violating their probationary period. The last thing I'm going to talk about is why the most important thing regarding violent crime offenders and why I believe they should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law is the victims' families. To give them the justice that they deserve, and to essentially make it so that that person that may have been hurt or that they had lost, what happened to them isn't in vain. So, with that said, regarding violent crimes, essentially all families that experience a violent crime that happens to someone they care about or someone in their family, they experience a wide range of emotions. This will include shame, grief, remorse, followed by depression and other mental health related illnesses, justifiably so. And on top of that, a lot of survivors or surviving family members to a victim are required to go to specialized counseling amongst utilizing other resources to try to recover from the traumatic experience they had just gone through. Not only paying out of their own pocket to try and get over what happened, well, not really get over what happened to them, but to try to move on to the next stage. In addition, funeral expenses, funeral charges for those that they've lost due to a violent crime. Simply put, to me, it just isn't fair that they have to deal with the fallout that comes with that, and then you have the offender that, you know, maybe gets a little leeway on the crime that was committed, whether it was, you know, somebody that died or not. They deserve to be prosecuted. So, in conclusion, basically, I went over why I believe that violent crime offenders will most likely reoffend, why I believe probation is not effective for violent crime offenders, and why I believe that it's important that they be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, primarily and most importantly, so that justice can be given to the families or the survivors of the violent crime. So, with that said, that is the end of my informative speech, and thank you all for listening.